this guest today, Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller. I have had the honor of knowing her now for almost a year. And when I tell you she is a powerhouse, that is a true understatement. And Dr. Andrea, I welcome you to the Power Transformation Podcast.
Well, thank you so much. You have done such wonderful things, and you're such a beautiful spirit, soul, and speaker. I'm so excited
Oh,
to be with you.
thank you. I am excited to have you here now. I have interviewed numerous people, but y'all, let me tell you, I feel like interviewing Dr. Andrea is a celebrity guest because when I tell you this woman and what she's done, the connections she has, but it's not so that she can get the glory or the fame from it. She has a heart to serve, and we're going to jump into that soon. But I do have this fun, lighthearted question for you that I like to ask all guests just to break the ice. Now, I know something about you that I'm just going to share with the audience is that you, like me, you are a thespian. You are an actress and you love the stage. So, out of the many past characters
Mm.
that you have played, which one is one of your favorites and why?
Hmm. It's so funny. That made me emotional. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So, Aunt Sponge from James and the Giant Peach.
Mm.
So, I had just had colorectal cancer and a complete total hysterectomy on the same day. And a week after getting out of the hospital, I saw that they were having tryouts. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to tryouts and just watch and support the other people trying
Mm.
out. And at that point, I was talking like this. I couldn't speak, I couldn't talk, I couldn't move. And I had literally just asked my husband the day before, or said to him, I didn't ask him, I told him, I guess it was kind of an ask of myself. I don't know that I can be me anymore. I don't know how I can be me. It's exhausting.
Mm.
Because I realized how much energy I exude out in the world.
Mhm.
So I go to tryouts and then I thought, oh, I'm just going to try out anyways. I didn't know anything about the show. I'd never even heard of it. I got up on stage and I said, I don't have a song. And he said, grab my book, pick something. I picked a song, got up on stage, introduced myself, hesitantly. And then the music started. And when you're on stage, I train my clients as well. When you're on stage, the show must go on.
That's
And you
right.
just get in this state. There's a state that I teach them. And I got myself into state. And then here I come with all that jazz out of nowhere when I couldn't even barely talk. And
Wow.
I literally ended the audition in tears, thanking
Oh,
them because I knew that I had it in me. I just needed the space and the place to exude that again. And
oh.
I ended up winning excellence in acting for that show. And then we took it to regionals, got invited to go to a contest and won an excellence in acting. I did for that and our whole show. And then we got nominated as first place to go to state. So now we're taking it
Oh.
to state. So that, and the
Wow.
idea of doing that character, and being her, and she, she plays a silly, like not overly knowledgeable, gluttonous. Oh,
Mhm.
really? But it was a grace part because I could be healing and recuperating while doing the show, and it looked like I was acting when I was literally holding my guts in so they didn't feel like they were going to fall out. And
Oh my.
the day after we opened, I went for my checkup, and my surgeon said, well, you're clear to go back to normal activities now. And I said, good,
Mm.
because I've been in a musical for the last 3 weeks and running up and down flights of steps. So it was the best thing I could have done. So
Yes.
thank you for allowing me the space to share that
Wow.
story.
Of course. And thank you for sharing it because it is such a powerful moment to know that you were experiencing so much personally and you were able to translate that into your role. And sometimes people see actors and just think oh, it's just them memorizing a script. No, it's far more than that. We actually become the characters and we still take a part of us into that. And I knew James and the Giant Peach only because that was one of my favorite books that I read back in elementary school. And when I knew you had gotten the role of one of the aunts, I said, oh my gosh, I knew that character well. And it's just so beautiful that you had that opportunity. So here you are, in part an actress, and that's one of the many things that you do. But if a person were to ask you, who is Dr. Andrea, what would you say?
Well, that's interesting because most people don't ask who I am, they ask what I do.
Mm.
And, and I prefer the question, who are you now? We just got to bring theater right back into it,
Of
right?
course, yes, we do.
Who I am is I'm a heart. I love people so much and I get excited seeing them do well and do successful things. And I love enlightening them to things and dreams that they don't even know that they can do and allowing them opportunities to be bigger than they ever dreamed possible. And that is so much fun for me. That is something that I take great joy in. And so I would say, I'm an artist, I'm a cheerleader, I'm a nerd when it comes to knowledge and information. I want to know more. I want to see more. I want to do more. I want to travel the world, which I already have traveled the world. I just want to be able to do it more. And,
Mhm.
when you do those things, it just makes your life so much better. So who am I? A big-hearted, loving, have my, my feelings on my sleeve. And, I probably talk too much and say things too bright or too loud. But is it really too loud or too much? It depends on the person. And if I'm too much for them, then they're probably not my people.
Exactly right. And I remember vividly the first time I met you in person, and we were at a dinner in Pennsylvania. And I remember sitting beside you, and you just instantly opened up, introduced yourself. I got to talking with you, and we were amongst other people that we knew, but a lot of us had met for the first time. And I just remember your personality was so warm and welcoming to me. And I said, this is a woman who knows who she is, knows her stuff, and wants other people to know that as well. And that always stood with me. And I thank you for it because you saying that you bring out gifts that sometimes people don't even see. How long have you known that you've had that gift? Because that's really a gifting. And how exactly do you do that?
Oh, so I've been that ever since a child. I was a only child and a lonely child. And so how I connected to other people and to other things was through books. So I read a lot and I knew that there was something more. And when I would read, the books I read were often of very interesting now that I think about it. It tended to be like Amish girls and how they overcame some kind of challenge, or somebody who lived in the wilderness and their parents died and they had to overcome challenge, and then they had to find these gifts in themselves to be able to be resilient and overcome. And that in my own right I had to do for myself because I, as an only child, we didn't live around other kids, so my when school was out, it was only me, and I had to be
Mm.
able to be me and and thrive. And I lived in a house where when it was Christmas, it was Christmas. Like there were days that every day was amazingly wonderful, and then there were days that it felt like I lived in a war zone. Just because my dad is a person who loves greatly, and doesn't use his words and his hands always in the kindest way. And so I had to always be alert and on top of it and be really resilient on my own. So
Mhm.
I noticed in other people, like with kids at school, I wanted to be included and I wanted to be liked. And how I did that was by noticing things about them that I could assist them in knowing more about or learning about. So, like, let's say if they had a certain interest or a hobby, I would learn more so that I could help them be able to do that even better or understand it at a deeper level. And I was always everybody's cheerleader, and I love doing that. It's something I really take great joy in. Although, you mentioned at the beginning, you called me a celebrity, and in some worlds I am. I have
Yeah.
worked with some really elite people, multimillionaires, billionaires, athletes, celebrities, influencers, thought leaders.
Mhm.
And so I've been on the red carpet. I've been in private rooms. I've worked with people that are do not disclose. And
That's right.
yeah. And I worked for the Michael Jackson family. They're one family that allows me to say that I worked for them. And when you work in that world, you are in a celebrity sense. And so when I go into different cities or different events, everybody knows me. And so
Mhm.
I am a celebrity in some worlds, and then some, I come home to Finley and I'm just Andrea. They leave it.
Mhm.
The rest of the world knows me as Dr. Andrea. Here I'm
Mhm.
just Andrea. I'm just the person next door. And I like that I get to live both worlds. And
That's true.
I stay who I am even when I'm in the fancy poo-poo places.
Mhm. And that's really the key. And I share with people, I don't say the names, but I have celebrities in my family. I also have some who are acquaintances, people I grew up with, and a couple of friends. And I always tell people who have roles in that area, that is their profession in the entertainment industry. But at the end of the day, they're people and they have real lives, real human experiences, real problems, just like everyone else. But I also think, too, is that this is where that balance is. And even when you said, yes, in certain settings you are, there's still a certain level of grace that you carry. And it's not a pompousness or an arrogance or, oh, I'm better than others. That's not who you are. And in fact, you have such different layers of yourself because on the one end, you have this entire entertainment part of you, but then there's a side of you, just like me. I say I'm a proud nerd in certain aspects, and that is because you also have lived your life in a totally different field, so as to speak. So if you were to tell people, okay, what exactly do you do? Because this audience has heard, okay, hold on, she's an actress, she's worked for different families. What does this lady do? What do you do or have you done professionally, Dr. Andrea?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people refer to me as a publicist because
Mhm.
they hear me say things like, I help you be seen, heard, and understood by the right people at the right time. But I don't think what they realize is that I do that in multiple different areas. One of them is internally. So I'm a master neuroscientist. And so that's where part of that, when I talk about that nerd energy, I have three PhDs and like 28 different modalities of continuing education or certifications and whatever, so many things. And I've created my own, it's called the quantum reality recode. So I can help people achieve a mental mind mastery, of no other. But that's so that I can help them eternally overcome and release the awesomeness about themselves, the gifts and the talents that they have. Also to release the negatives and the I don't know hows and the I can'ts, I won'ts, I don'ts, to remove all that negativity so that they can stand in their full self, their full expression. And then it's externally. So how do I help them in the media and on stages and to be seen and heard, through social media and through events and partnerships and sponsorship and having their own events, their own masterminds, their own retreats. And then there's a whole nother aspect that I don't think people have realized because I've never really talked about it. So thank you for the opportunity. It's strategically. So I kind of I kind of refer to it like this, like everybody's told like stay in your lane, stay in your lane. I'm
Mhm.
hired to stay out of my lane. I
Mhm.
buzz into all the lanes within these amazing CEOs and entrepreneurs and athletes to help them within their whole business structure so that I
Mhm.
make sure that the CEO that they are, the visionary that they are, they get to stay in vision while their CFO, their financial person, is also getting that information. So those two are talking in a way that strategically streamlines their dreams of what they want. And at the
Mhm.
same time, does their team on board? How are they relating to their audiences? So I talk about help them focus on the different personalities of people that they're attracting them, helping them save money, helping them be able to spend money and invest wisely. I've even helped them write contracts. One client recently, they had a one-page contract on how they were going to do this major merger.
Wow.
And I've been in the entertainment industry too long. I knew that was not going to fly long term. It would be great for the day, but the second there's a problem,
Mhm.
expectations are, going to be out the door. So I wrote a 30-page contract so well that the attorney who looked at it asked him what attorney he hired to write it. And he's like, and he refers to me as, his publicist. And he's like, oh, well, my publicist wrote it.
Mm.
So I'm more than a publicist.
That's right.
I, uh, there's people often, it's almost easier to say what don't I do, and actually
Mhm.
there's a running joke. They say, what don't you do? And I say, I don't play basketball. I'm I know that where the ball goes, where the elbow flows or something like that, but I can't play basketball. I'm terrible at it. So
Wow.
that's my, it's easier to say that, but and if I don't know it, I either know somebody who does, or I'll learn fast and figure it out so that we can solve the problem. I love solving problems. I love the challenges, but it doesn't have to be a problem to be solved. Like to exceed or to excel or to move beyond isn't necessarily a problem. It's a puzzle to be
Mhm.
unlocked and released.
I like that in terms of a puzzle because it seems if we go back a little bit and just reflecting on what you said earlier, even about your childhood of being an only child, but yet having this heart to really pour into people, and even what you did with your client and the contract is quite incredible. And so, what I'm led to ask, I think that so many people limit themselves or put themselves into a box
Mhm.
and they allow their circumstances to dictate the outcomes of their life. And you had this interesting dichotomy growing up where on the one hand it had its challenges, but then you also know like when it was Christmas and you had this blend of the best of both worlds. And it makes me wonder is what led you down this road to actually say that I want to be able to serve people in multiple capacities and I'm not going to let anything limit me? Did you always have that type of mindset or was it formed and how?
Oh, well, I felt the limitations all the time. I
Hmm.
knew that couldn't be what I, I just had this knowing or belief that that can't be all that there is. There
Mm,
has to be more than that. And, um, and it's interesting because people see me as, bombastic and, no holds barred and, completely opposite of than shy,
mm,
and not reserved at all. And yet, every aspect of my life, as I look back and move forward, I see that there's still gates that I need to push open and unlock all the time. I mean, technically, my peers and my mentors have been after me for years. They're like, you're always behind somebody else lifting them. Why aren't you
mhm.
the one? Why aren't you the front runner? And
Wow.
they really want me to, they're like, you were already showing up and being around like, Bené Brown and Mel Brooks, or not Mel Brooks.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I probably
yeah.
could write,
I
I could
know.
write a funny show.
No, but
Uh,
because he's coming out with Space Balls too. I did hear that is in the works, but
Well, there
yeah,
you go. And that
yeah,
would make me laugh, for
yeah.
Mel Robbins. They're like,
I
Andrea,
love
you're already, why are you not that? Like you've been doing all this for so
it.
long. You've not allowed yourself to elevate to that level because you're
Mm.
held back because you're lifting others. And there's truth to that. When
Hmm.
you dedicate your life to helping other people shine, there are times and situations where I've let a stage go that I was invited to help a client have that space. And, or created a space for them and then chose not to take my own.
Hmm.
Part of that is, I guess I kind of almost think of that as like parents, you'll let your kids take a better view than to say, no, I'm going to step in front of them.
Hmm.
And there are times, as this last couple of years, I've questioned that as well. I'm starting to believe them that, maybe that's something that I should also do is be there, create that situation
Hmm.
where me, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And when you mention about how sometimes people see you as taking that step back, but yet other people are being elevated, it's just simply incredible to me that the work behind it, the forming of that person that's in that limelight is because of you, and that through their legacy, it's a part of what you've poured into them that even helps to shape their legacy. And we hear this word going around so much about legacy and people leaving a legacy. What has been your experience, Dr. Andrea, when you hear people say, oh, I want to leave a legacy? Are they really doing that, or are they doing something totally contrary to that and really thinking that they are?
It ebbs and flows for each person and the
Mhm.
definition changes. So wealth and legacy. So I have a community called the Wealth and Legacy Alliance. And some people, when they hear that, they only hear the money part.
Mm,
And if they're only money focused, they're not the right fit.
that's right.
Because it's more than money. It's often more of a skill set on how to use money and utilize money to help yourself while helping others. So that there's a generosity with money. There's also a respect of it, and an also a realization that it is just energy, that
Mm,
money can be moved and replaced and, made, that situations change and are so flexible and adaptable. And at the same time, there's this wealth of people, wealth of knowledge, wealth of assets. The idea is way beyond that. So I've also often heard that, you're rich if you have this small inner circle that's always there and
mhm.
around you. And I definitely believe that that can be true. But at the same time, I think your circle can be wider than that. And uh, the and some people only see wealth and legacy as a right now thing. Like they want to leave something behind. So it's a book, it's a course, it's a knowledge, it's their name written.
Mhm.
And criminals have a legacy, you know, please find
Yes.
what you want in the world. Like,
Yeah.
oh, everybody remembers, Jack the
Mhm.
Ripper. Is that your legacy? Is that what you want to leave? What is the legacy you want to leave behind? I would like to leave behind the legacy that of kindness and inclusion and generosity and knowledge and resilience and love. Those are the things that enrichment and empowerment, those are the things of legacy that I'd like to leave behind. But I don't want people just to be living to for the future after they're dead. And that's what
Mhm.
so many people are doing. They're not living in their legacy now. And so that's one of the reasons that I show up the way I do. That's why you see my living room. I'm in my living room because I want you to see this is how I really live.
That's right.
I live on a farmhouse in Ohio. I got my grandma died recently, and I have her chicken right there. Like,
Oh.
when you think of things that you want, it's hysterical. Like, so the
Yeah.
legacy that my grandma left behind is this loving, kind, generous person who baked pies and helped me save pennies in banks. So I like the idea of saving change in a bank, and had
Mhm.
treats in this little dumb um, chicken that my kids think is the ugliest thing ever. But it's okay because it meant something to me. And it's
Mhm.
those things that mean something to you that I want to live. So I don't live my life as a showcase for other people. I live my house for the things around me that surround me, of the memories that make my life enriched and important. And so I think that's part of it. I have worked for people that are all about that front appearance.
Yeah.
And I'm just not that. Now, I can live into that if that's what they truly want and that's where they want to be. However, I tend to not work with clients like that anymore because I want them to be truly authentic and real.
And what do you say to a person who's listening or watching this and is saying that's a different spin on legacy? Because I think about it as once I die, this is what I'm going to leave behind. So how can I learn to be authentic, real, and build a legacy right now in the moment? What would you say to them?
You know, what I would like for them to see or know or understand is that a legacy that's only looked at once you're dead is about somebody reading only a part of who you were
Mm.
or an aspect of what you wanted to show, but you're not
Mhm.
showing them all of you. I keep wanting to break into song today because all of me, love, you know,
All
they
of
want
you.
they want to
Yes.
know all of you. They want
Yes.
to know who you are, what you think. Because when people pass, they say things like, "Oh, I wish I would have asked Grandma this," or even
Mhm.
with people like so I've had the pleasure of knowing like Tom Ziegler, Zig
Mhm.
Ziglar's son, and being around other people after other people passed, and knowing their parents, and people want to say things like, "Oh, I wish I would have known how blah 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 behaved, or what was important to them, or what did they really value." More so than yes, they want to know their information. How do they make their money? How do they make their riches? And that often tends to be focused on. And what they don't focus on is the other aspect of that. Um, uh, it's just very funny. His first name is eluding me right now. I haven't talked to him for a couple of years. Warren Buffett's son.
Mhm.
When people talk about Warren Buffett, they only talk about his money and that, and they don't talk about how he managed money with his kids, how his kids were like given very little. In fact, when their mom passed, they got some money from her, but they had to do everything on their own. So he was very much about work ethics and making things happen. So, people see Warren Buffett one way, but so many people, I think, are missing the other aspect of who he is,
Mhm.
where maybe that doesn't always look like love and kindness, but maybe it's more love and kindness than we realize.
Yeah. Oh, yes, indeed. And I want to take a brief shift here to something that I think that the audience will find intriguing because I know I do. So, when I see you, and for people who are listening, Dr. Andrea has on some type of red, RED, okay? And in any pictures, she will have on red. I do know I have some visually impaired listeners as well, but red is her color. Tell us the story behind red and what is the reason for you intentionally choosing to show up red in your life?
Yeah. Well, now RED has a meaning and an acronym. It stands for relevance, enthusiasm, and delivery. When you hit all three, you hit your target market every time. And the reason I hold my hands up and look like I'm shooting a gun when I say hit your target market every time is that's my way of making a reference to my past. I did work in law enforcement, and I was the first person and first girl to pass my certification with 100%, which no one ever had done with shooting. So I'm a really good shot. And when people hear that I worked in law enforcement, there's this other sense of trust that's given
Mhm.
with that. But the red color came about is I've been in business for over 30 years and I own an intimacy and relationship business as well. And that's how people grew to know me. I was speaking all over the world and doing all kinds of wonderful things and was really well known. And somebody else said, you know, you've been on over 2,500 radio shows, you've been on all the, you know, ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, Fox, you know, all this stuff. How did you get all this news and attention?
Mhm.
Would you help me? So then another business was born out of helping other people get the kind of stage time that I was getting when I still own that business, by the way. I just don't talk about it as much. um, and in that change of business where then everybody wanted me because they wanted to get the publicity and the
Mhm.
stages and know how to write copy like I did and all of that, my one friend said, you know, you should really call it the red carpet connection. He
Mhm.
said, you're always on the red carpet. You're with all these clients on the red carpet all the time, and that would be great for you. So, so I was just called the red carpet, but the color wearing it came from the fact that I used to wear bright colors. I was heavy set, and people would say things to me like, "You're too fat to wear color on stage."
Wow. Oh my.
And then I gained a bunch of weight. And then I was wearing only black because that's what
Oh.
people told. So I wore red shoes because I had my opinion and well, other people's
Mhm.
opinions too. And I think I have a pretty face, so I wore red lipstick and drew all the tension up and down.
Mhm.
And then I happened to gain even more weight at one point, and I saw a red dress that I wanted to wear to a premiere for one of my clients. And I'm like, screw it, I'm buying the red dress. And people went nuts over it. So even though I was at my heaviest, people went bonkers over me wearing this red dress. And it dawned on me at that time that me wearing red got this attention that made people, first of all, it was easy for my clients to find me. It did attract attention. It helped command a room, and I looked good in it.
That's
And
right.
so then I started wearing red when I was on stage because I thought, you know, screw all of you who said I was too fat to wear red. I'm
Mhm.
not too fat to wear red. And the ideas have changed. I remember when people told me that I was too fat when I weighed 136. And,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
now I weigh 150 pounds more than that. And it's just, and people, some people say the same phrase and other people think my weight's just fine. So
Mhm.
our weight has changed over the
Mhm.
last 15 years on how people talk to each other and how people react. And so I got to love some of our beautiful women in music who have changed that beauty image. And
Mhm.
what I realized then is I started wearing red only on stage, but then I shifted to wearing it all the time
Mhm.
because of how I am in my life. I never know when I'm going to called to be on stage.
That's right.
I'm in my, you know, and other people would wear a logo or whatever. Well, red is my logo. That
Mhm.
is me. I'm known as the lady in red. I'm not a lady in red. I'm the lady in red. So in 2010, I started wearing 2010, 2011, I started wearing red every day of my life. And I used to
Oh.
only wear all red. And during COVID, I started wearing pants for the first time.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Now, so for context, I wore dresses.
Uh-huh.
Only
Yes.
dresses. And I live on a farm, mind you. A farm.
No, look, y'all, no, she only wore red shirts. She didn't have on any bottoms. So no, don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I could have because half the time we were on Zoom. But I started incorporating black pants and black leggings.
Oh, okay.
And so, although I still prefer dresses.
Mm-hmm.
Now and so wearing red all the time, it's very easy for me for my branding. People know who I am. And it's very funny. Out of a test once, we went somewhere and somebody purposely gave me a blue shirt. And I walked all the way through the whole place and through the crowd. No one recognized me.
See, we expect you to be in that red. That's your power color. We know you as such. And this has been such a key part. Everything that you've done leads up to this transformational piece in your life. It's just been ongoing evolution, transformation, resiliency, abundance, and so much more. And, audience, if you all thought, okay, that, okay, she has all of these roles, and as we start to come to a close, we won't talk a lot about it because your personal life is your personal life. But I will tell you all, she's a wife, a mother, and a grandma too. And she does them fabulously well. So for you to not only just help strangers, so to speak, but to pour and give your all. And she loves her family. She adores her family. And so, with that being said, when you just think about how you pour into your biggest fans, which are your family, how do they keep you focused, inspired, and going day to day with how you serve others?
That's interesting because in a way they're almost the opposite of because
Mhm.
they keep me grounded.
Ah, I love
So
it.
they're not about
Tell us more.
doing
Yeah.
something for someone else. They'll
Okay.
be the first ones to call me on my shit, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how family is. They see me as a real person.
Hmm.
They don't care about the pomp and circumstance of anything, awards, like I'm sure they're very proud of me. And, they may be proud of me in other areas, but when it's just us, they just see me as me. So, it's funny because, I always say I love traveling all over the world, but I'm always happy to come just be back home. And
Hmm.
being here and being in my house and talking to people on the radio or whether I'm doing some kind of other thing where I'm here, I get to just show up and be me. So you get all of me how I am. Like whether you came over to my house and visited me or you're here on this with me, it's the same person. And my kids only see me as me. And all of this doesn't matter
Hmm.
to them because
Yeah.
they just want the real person. And grounding me allows me to be even more excellent when I'm out in the world and doing other things,
Hmm.
which almost seems oxymoronic in a way, but it
Hmm.
does because sometimes I think people's families elevate them to the point where they're not real anymore, you know?
Oh, hmm. And you've got to stay grounded because at the end of the day, your your family is really going to be that core piece. And to know, like, you're a mom, so your kids are going to see you as mom. And of course, you and your husband have that special bond as husband and wife. And oh, your grandchildren. Oh, I love seeing the pictures
I'm
of your family.
grandma, by the way.
Yes,
My
grandma. That's right, grandma.
She said I'm too glamorous to be a grandma, so
That's right. You're a grandma, but
yeah.
yes, that will shed you and show you in a different light. Now, for the people who may be even more interested in learning more about you, how to contact you in case they need a publicist or even want to just learn more about you, how can they support you and how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, and when you go to my website's always changing and adapting because I used to only work with a few people a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm now changing a little bit so that more people I can work with more people and
Yes.
have more many. Although I still love doing the working with one person and being in all aspects of their
Mm-hmm.
business. It's a lot of fun to have a whole empire grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still open to that. But it's the redcarpetconnection.com, and I'll either have a different free gift or a different course or a different opportunity. I always have something new that I'm doing, engaging because I love creativity. And I get to, when you own your own company, you can do whatever you want, you know? So tomorrow we might be doing one thing, tomorrow we're doing another. And then I
Uh-huh.
do have the communities. And then I have an incubator. It's called the Wealth and Legacy Incubator. And that's where we pull people in who want to be, they have that dream of being an empire one day. And we literally go through their whole business. So it's an opportunity for you to have me come in and work with you like I do for these multimillionaires and
Mhm.
billionaires, but you get to have me with a group of other people. And then we're constantly pushing you for action because we don't want you to be stuck. We don't want you to get in your own way. We don't want you to have those down moments where, you just have any feelings or emotions that stop you from moving. So if we can keep you in the momentum, then you're going to succeed and do really, really well. And to be able to also have moments of being able to stop and be with yourself and to be
Mhm.
okay with just being you and constantly looking at how every twist or turn is an opportunity for you to adapt and change to be even a better person that you can be. I mean, it's really
Mhm.
cool. So, between the mind mastery and the business growth and business development and the events, I mean, there's so many cool things that are going on. So,
Mhm.
come to the redcarpetconnection.com, make it a thing to come on a regular basis and come and look, reach out to me, follow me on all the social media. I'll engage with you because at the end of the day, I'm a real person. I talk to real people. And I think
Indeed.
that's why celebrities like working with me because when I meet them on the red carpet, I treat them like people. And
Mhm.
instead of being bedazzled, I respect their work instead of being bedazzled by their charm. And then
Yeah.
they like me because I treat them like real people.
Oh, I love that. And I'll have all of that in the show notes. And whether you realize it or not, that is a great segue into my last question. And I was going to say, so many people like you. I like you. I love you. I really, really do. But my last and final question, what do you like most about yourself, Dr. Andrea?
Thank you for asking that. I actually can answer that easily, which is funny because you probably find people are stunned. Like some people don't have a list of, they
I
have a bigger
know.
list of what they don't like than what they do.
Uh-huh.
And
They
I
do.
I like me. I'm like
Yeah.
I love that I love people. I love that things make me emotional. I love that I blurt out in song for no reason. Wherever I am, I love that I love the pool and the water. I love that, I invite people into my home. I love to break bread and or break a bed, whatever I just said. Um, you know, um, I like to make fun of my own self. Like I just screwed up a word. Life works that way. So whether I'm on stage speaking to 8,000 people or in a small group doing a,
Mm.
24 group chat mastermind, I love that I can just be myself and keep going and that I will, if I don't have the answers, I'll find them or introduce them to somebody that will have the answers, and that there's always another opportunity. We just have to keep looking for it and keep moving forward. And that's what I like about myself is I love the resilience of me.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. It helps us inspire even more listeners. And don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a little power in their transformation. Until next time, keep bouncing back, keep rising, and be good to yourself and to others.